Okay, so welcome back again, guys, and here we have a 2019 VW Crafter 2-litre diesel, horrible front wheel drive, as you can see. And the issue with this one is that it's losing coolant, but we know what the issue is because we done the clutch and flywheel on this one over the weekend, which is a horrible job. You know, I have to take the subframe off, the gearbox was a headache to take out and put back on, as we had to work on the floor. And after we put everything back together, we put on the pit to check everything, make sure everything's fine. And we noticed that there was a leak coming from the timing belt cover side, so we advised the customer when they were picking up the vehicle to keep an eye out for it. But it's back here sooner than we expected, as it's just the coolant it's losing is ridiculous. So yeah, let me get the flashlight and then I'll show you exactly around the timing belt area. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my torch and I'm just gonna show. So you can see around the alternator mark, around the fan belt, you can see that it's wet. And it's clear that the timing belt, the water pump is losing coolant from there. So we're just gonna crack on. I'll start off with removing the air filter box, allowing access onto this side, taking off the wheel and preparing to put a jack underneath, taking off covers that need to be taken off if there's any underneath, and we'll be taking it from there. Okay, so we've gone ahead taking off the air filter box, and there's a 30 Torx there from that goes to the air, for the pipe that goes to the air filter. Make sure you release that one, as that bolts onto the engine mount, which we're going to take off. And now we'll just go underneath, take off the covers. And also, when I took off the airflow sensor and the sensors, you've got two sensors that go into. I'll release them so that they're just out my way. We don't want to damage any wires or any plugs in the process. So making sure that the area we're gonna work on is open and clear. So we'll go underneath, check for any covers, remove the covers, take a wheel off if we have to, and then take it from there. Okay, so I decided to take off the pipe that goes to the air filter, and underneath I've taken off the cover. And as you can see, that this does have as it's an aircon refrigerator van, it's got an extra fan belt, an extra aircon pump pulley, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them, then remove the fan belt, the main fan belt, and jack the engine up, take off the engine mounts, and take it from there. Okay, so as you can see, I've taken off the top half of the timing belt cover, the additional fan belt for the AC refrigerator, the car's original fan belt, and to take off this engine mount, the one that comes here, bolts on. Got one hole there, one hole at the back there, and one underneath, just in the corner there, on top of the pulley somewhere. You have to take off the timing belt cover, as it being mounted on this turbo elbow pipe makes it very difficult. So if you take out the timing belt cover, it makes it easier for the engine mount to come off. Now, as you can see, we can see that it's all wet around here clearly. And now we will be taking off the crank pulley, removing the bottom half of the timing belt cover, and taking it from there. Okay, so as you can see, the timing marks have lined up for the camshaft and the high pressure fuel pump. We couldn't put a crank pulley on as it's been modified for us to put against the timing belt cover, where it does show top dead center, as it's got the aircon refrigerator, so they've modified the pump. So we haven't been able to put the crank pulley on and line up with that. So yeah, now we're going to take the bottom half of the timing belt cover off. And as you can see, it's just dripping away. Bottom of the crank bolt, as you can see. So yeah, just going to carry on taking the cover off, removing the taking the tensioner off, taking off the belt, and carry on with the replacement. Okay, so as you can see, we've taken off our timing belt tensioner, the roller guides, and the timing belt itself. Now we're just gonna go ahead and remove the water pump, clean up the mating surface on the water pump so that it sits nice and flush. We don't want any leaks or any issues. Once we put the new water pump on, we will put coolant in the system again to make sure that there is no leaks before we close it off. So yeah, as you can see, we've taken our water pump off. You can see that there's excessive play, and it sounds like the bearings inside have failed as well. If we look at it, the side to side, you can see the bearings playing inside there, and also the, yeah, as you can see, and it playing. As you can see that there's excessive play, causing the leak. So this is where our issue was at, as we had stated earlier on before. So yeah, we've got the new kit there. We'll be taking it, putting on the new kit in the morning as it's late now. So yeah. Okay, we're back here in the morning again. Last night we realised that the water pump was wrong, as the one that come in the set come with electrical plug, whereas this one doesn't have one. So this morning the new one arrived. We cleaned up the surface area of the water pump so that the water pump is nice and flush. We've tightened the water pump down. We couldn't find any torque settings for that, so we made sure that it's tight, and hopefully we put the coolant in, as you can see, to check if that there's going to be no leaks. So seems fine. We're just going to go ahead and put the new timing belt kit back together and start closing it up. Okay, so as you can see, we've put our timing belt kit along with the tensioner, roller guides and everything back into its place. We've checked the timing, rotated the engine clockwise a whole turn to see that the timing marks line up. Now we're just going to start from putting the bottom cover back on, and the engine mount, fan belt. We'll put the fan belt on, as that's easier to put on for the engine mount. So we'll put the bottom cover on, crank pulley on, fan belt, and then the engine mount, and then the top cover. We'll take it from there. Okay, as you can see, we've put on the I can't really see from here, but put on the timing, the rear bottom cover, put on the crank pulley, and both the fan belts, one for the AC refrigerator, one that's for the car. Put the engine mount bracket on, and put this bolt back on as well, which we took off. Otherwise you can't take off the engine mount bracket. So I'm just going to tighten these down now, and then put on the top cover and put the remainder of the engine mount on. Okay, so as you can see, we've put the engine mounts back on, tightened up our turbo elbow pipe at the back, put our air filter box on, putting the top cover on it as it's easier to put in that way, and then we will plug in our mass airflow sensor, and then we should start up the car, check that the coolant's circulating, see that the fan kicks in, make sure everything's running fine, and then it will be ready to hand over to our customer. Okay, so we put everything back together, as you can see, started up the vehicle, making sure the coolant's circulating well, there's no leaks anywhere. We haven't put the bottom trim on yet, so just to get a clear view if there is a leak or anything. Once we see everything's fine, we will put the inner trim on and the wheel on and hand it over to the customer.